Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Bump and Run video show. I'm Sid Rosenberg for OpenSports.com and the National Football Post. Let's bring in former NFL safety and featured writer for the National Football Post, Matt Bowen, to break down the latest happenings after week number 7 in the National Football League. Matty, how are you, pal?
I'm doing good. Doing better than those Redskins are right now.
Oh, man, they looked ugly last night, that loss of the Eagles. So, excluding Washington here, Matt, you look at the NFC East right now. The Giants 5-2 off 2 straight losses. Dallas 4-2 off an impressive victory over Atlanta. The Eagles win over Washington on Monday. Talk about the NFC East as a whole.
Well, I think you have to say now that it's up for grabs. You know, a couple weeks ago, you and I were talking, and it was easy to say that the Giants were the number 1 team because they're playing the best football. You look at what they've done their last 2 ball games. Eli Manning struggled. And then now you look at Dallas. Dallas has found a playmaker in Miles Austin. You know, the running game's good. This allows them to throw the ball downfield and not to rely on Roy Williams, who's basically just turned into a big tight end and wide receiver. You know, with Philly, we saw it last night. They can pressure in their big play offense. They have enough playmakers on the outside for McNabb. I think this race is far from over. I think you can get 2 playoff teams out of the NFC East, but right now you got to give Dallas and Philly some credit. They're back in it.
Hey, let's talk about the Saints now, one of 3 teams, the only team inside the NFC with the Colts and Broncos in the AFC, Matty, still unbeaten, down 24-3 late second quarter in Miami to the Dolphins. They come back and they outscore Miami 43-10 down the stretch there. What about the Saints' Sean Payton, those second half adjustments?
Well, he did a great job because he got Mike Bell involved in the game. He didn't panic. He knew he was behind. He stood and leaned on the pass every time out in the second half. He ran the ball, set up the pass that allowed Drew Brees to expose that secondary and give Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator, some credit too. He shut down the Wildcat in the second half, and the Saints defensive backs returned two interceptions for scores. They forced Chad Henne to throw the ball where they wanted it to go, and that's why they're still undefeated. They got good coaches on both sides of the ball.
No question. Hey, Matt, let's talk about the Houston Texans. We always knew they had talent. Andre Johnson, Steve Slayton. When Matt Schaub is healthy, he does a nice job. They come off the win over San Francisco. They're now on a win streak. They're 4-3. How serious do we take the Houston Texans?
I think we have to talk about them. You know, they're kind of lumped in that discussion with Baltimore, with the Jets, teams like that who are still talking wild card at this point in the season. The thing about Houston that I really like right now is Steve Slayton. They're getting him the football. Yeah, he's not putting up these huge numbers. We look at his carries, 19 last week, 18, 19, 18, something like that, and then you go up to the play action, how they're able to stop the run all of a sudden on defense. This is a different football team. They don't become, the run-shoot Oilers of the 90s.
Agreed. Now, Chicago, maybe the biggest disappointment of all last week, Matt, blown out 45-10 in Cincinnati by the Bengals. I really thought Chicago was going to be a big-time team with Cutler, but talking about Steve Slayton doing a good job for Houston, Matt Forte has really struggled running the football for the Chicago Bears. Cedric Benson's having a better season. What about the Bears' inability here, Matt, to run the football?
Well, I think it's a major problem. You look at right now, Minnesota and Green Bay, they're playing this week, and right now they're the top of the NFC North, and the reason is the Bears' offensive line is struggling, just like Green Bay's have. But Green Bay put it together last week. And then you look at Lovie Smith's defense, Sid, and I'll be honest, of all his time in the National Football League, even in St. Louis, I haven't seen a worse performance by his defense. They didn't tackle well. They got beat down the field. They didn't get any pressure on Carson Palmer, and Cedric Benson carved him up. And this is, like you said, this is a team we're thinking that's going to be great with Cutler, a team that's going to contend for the division. But right now, they just have to figure out what they're doing on both sides of the ball because they look awful.
Raiders beat the Eagles at home 2 weeks ago, Matt, but that's sandwiched in between losses to the 2 New York football teams, where they were outscored 82-7 by the Giants, 44-7, and the Jets, 38-0. It seems like it's the right time right now to bench struggling quarterback Jamarcus Russell, but Al Davis seems like he's making the calls there. They refuse to bench Russell in Oakland. Is that the right move?
No, that's a really poor decision by the Raiders, by the front office, by Tom Cable. Because he's not a leader, Sid. He turns the ball over way too much. He makes excuses with the media, and he hasn't produced. It'd be different if this guy was slinging touchdowns all over the field, but this is a very bad football team. I know they had a better game plan, and they did outcoach the Eagles 2 weeks ago, but they give up 300 yards rushing to the Jets. I don't see this team going anywhere with him at quarterback. At least with Bruce Gradkowski, you might get a quarterback that protects the ball a little bit more and gives you more chance to win. But right now with Russell, you can't win with him.
All right, Matty, great job as always. That was week number 7. Looking forward to covering week number 8 with you. As always, Matt Bowen, terrific job. Thank you, pal.
Thanks for having me on.
You got it. You can always follow Matt, by the way, on Twitter at MattBowen41 and catch all of his great writing, and it is great, at nfpost.com. For Matt Bowen, I'm Sid Rosenberg. And as always, folks, enjoy the football.